Hey guys, thank you for joining us again for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we are resuming the part two of the book, A Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. And so today is the conclusion of that part of that book. So Chris, take it away.
Yeah, excited to wrap this one up. So you missed part one, but this is Nelson Mandela's autobiography, A Long Walk to Freedom. And have you ever read this one before?
No, I haven't.
I'm sure you know who Nelson Mandela is, so you probably know his story a little bit. But this was at the time the longest book that I've ever consumed in my life. It was really, really interesting. Obviously this guy lived an incredible life and one that we can all learn something from. And I was very, very happy to take a few lessons away from it to be able to share with everybody here. So part two is going to be all about preparing for purpose. So using your values to stay ready. So while I don't know, there's nothing about Nelson Mandela's life that I can relate to be honest with you, in terms of how he went about his life and what mattered to him and what didn't matter to him, in terms of how he was describing his life path and the arc that he took and all that stuff, right? However, it reminded me of this quote from Maya Angelou: "We are more alike than my friends, and we are unalike." As the further I went on and on in this book, I started to discover that there's a whole lot of things that I love in this world and the day-to-day life that Nelson Mandela also loved. And these are some of the notes that I took in my journal. It's like Nelson Mandela loves tennis. Nelson Mandela loves daily exercise. Nelson Mandela loves reading and learning every day. Nelson Mandela loves challenging the world around him, and he loves gardening. Like, I don't necessarily garden, to be fair. All those other ones, definitely I do. I love yard work. I just love getting out in the yard and mowing the grass or pulling weeds out of landscaping beds or something along those lines.
That's gardening.
It's gardening, but I don't have a garden per se where I'm have vegetables and stuff.
You have a yard, you have grass.
But it was an exciting connection for me as I was reading through this book and to hear about his life, because if anybody knows anything about me, which you two obviously do, but for anybody that's listening to this, these are the things that I do every day of my life. This is how I honor and my purpose with my daughter is to do the stuff that I love to do. And when I do that, I get to feel her presence and I get to honor her life. At the same time, practice what she taught me, which is life is precious and we got to try our best to be ourselves and do what we love and to honor this life that we get, this opportunity to be in. And for me, this is a daily practice, right? Like every single day, we're reading something, learning something new. We're doing some exercise, moving our body. We're doing some writing, things like that. If I can, every day I'm trying to play tennis, but that's not every day. A lot of other things that we do. These are all kind of daily practices for myself. And what I learned about Nelson Mandela, what I found most remarkable about his life, obviously we all know that his purpose was something great. And we talked about that in part one, which was equality for all, and he was going to fight for that for, he did it for his entire life, from when he was a young kid until he was old. But it wasn't every day you get to practice your purpose, right? It was only very specific events in his life where he could really point to, he could really leverage his purpose. That's kind of how I feel like purpose works. Purpose is not something you do every day. Values are something to do every day. And the fun thing about values is values helps you to stay prepared for purpose, in my opinion, right? So Nelson Mandela, when he was in jail for 10,000 days, didn't matter what the hell was going on, didn't matter if he was being tortured by new wardens or his friends were doing crazy crap or, people were frustrated or whatever. He woke up every single damn day, no matter what was happening. He did his exercises while he was in his cell. He'd read and write correspondences every single day. He'd learn about the news of the day from somebody out there in the other world where they would give him a newspaper or whatever. He would become friends with wardens and they would at least give him newspapers to keep up on the political things going on. He would then spend the latter half of his time every day playing some tennis and gardening. This is how he kept his mental focus ready every single day. Is he found a way to be himself no matter where he was by exercising his values. That lasted 10,000 days. Literally, he was in jail for 10,000 days as a political prisoner on Robben Island. This was the same routine that he did all the time. He found ways to exercise his purpose when he could in that environment. It was only sporadic times when he got to do that. Yeah, he was in jail for 27. Yeah. As a political prisoner, right? But this is what he did every single day and he was happy. And that's the thing with values is it can keep you in the game and it can keep you active and it can keep you, doing stuff that you love while you're waiting for purpose and being ready for that. But I think, values are how we play the game, right? Values are how we're able to go day to day while we're waiting for those big life purpose events. And I think that was the biggest lesson I learned from Nelson Mandela as to how to live a purpose-driven life. It's like put in the title, you can't always be doing purposeful activities, right? Like you can do things on purpose, but like your big purpose in life kind of stuff, like those are only going to come at certain windows, a certain time, and you don't know when that's going to be, right? But you can always stay ready by using your values to keep yourself in the game and keep yourself prepared to be the person you want to be, right? So that's a reflection for the day. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts. The question was, how are you using your values to sustain you each day while you prepare for your purpose? Yeah. And you have any thoughts?
Sure, what do you think?
Well, like I say, I think purpose is something that we're born with. Whether you realize it or not, it's determined by how you feel about the current path you're on. Like you asked me before, how you feel about your life. For me, I love my life, but other people who look at my life, for them, it's boring. It's not something fulfilling. And so to me, everybody is born with a certain set of characteristics and personality that fits them in a certain way. And purpose is, like Chris said, is something that you need to fulfill. And values are components of things that you do that gets you towards your purpose. And an example could be for example, for me, I like the alignment of nature. And so I like to go into the wood, or I like to go plant something. But in order for me to plant something, right, I need to learn. So my purpose of learning, it's require for me to learn about the type of plants, the type of soil, the type of water, the type of environment, the type of community, to kind of get to where I want to get, that ending of I'm aligning with nature, I'm resonating with nature. And so for me, that makes me feel good. But the fact that I'm learning about how to grow things because it's aligned with that purpose, doing that values also give me this, the feeling of feeling good feeling. However you want to label that. But values, like Chris said, is something that is so, like I said, learning, for example, if you ask me to learn about, let's say, ask me to learn about sales, or learning about taxes and how to do deductions and all that, learning is still learning. But in that case, it doesn't align with my purpose. And so learning to be an accountant would bore me to that. I would rather die than to be put it into a prison and have me do taxes every single day for, let's say, 25 years, 27 years, whatever it is. But if you ask me to go and plant things all day and grow things all day, I can do that for like 100 years. And so when you look at the perspective of things that we do, that aligns with us in the I guess the state of being where we are, I guess, aligning with that character, with that patterns of DNA that we inherited from our parents. So each person has that particular set, like a beaver. For some reason, they're compelled to go build dams. And why they do that is because they have the genes that are suited for that environment, and they do something with looking at bats, for example. Who wants to stay in a dark cave for like hours on end, and having your body hang upside down. But the thing about the bat, that's natural for them. And so for them, that is their value. That's what they do. And for us, we also have that same concept and patterns. And until we learn to accept and follows the things that we inherit, we are going to create what I call self-inflicted misery. So I think having a purpose and values and understanding the differences between them is important to kind of get you to have this quote unquote fulfilling life, whatever you want to, however you want to label that. And so whether you can put me in a cell, or put me in, let's say you put me in the ocean, for example. If I'm, like I told Chris, if we're on vacation, but our minds are at work, then we don't really are at the place. Like I can be in the nicest beach, but I have, concerns about work, about this and that. I'm stressing out. I did not enjoy. I did not see anything. I was at the beach. My mind was somewhere else. So if your mind and what you do not align, then are you even in the same place? It's called being present. So I think having the values, if you live your values, I think it's going to add towards a purpose. And so figuring out the values is the first thing. that you can do to determine and explore the values. Because I think having values and purpose, they go hand in hand, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference because people
Yes,
keep
yeah.
saying, my purpose, my value. What the heck do you mean by that? But there is a subtle difference between the two. And so, like I said, not everything is your purpose. Like, hey, learning is learning my purpose? No, it's not. Because if I take for me, for example, if learning is my purpose, then I can learn anything, right? But learning isn't my purpose, it's my value. It's my value that is adds to my purpose because I want to learn about gardening. I want to learn about the universe. I want to learn about chemistry. I want to learn about all the things that make, like, I learn about coding, right? That fulfills me. If I ask Chris, hey, Chris, you love learning. Why don't you learn about physics? Why don't you learn about the stars? Why don't you learn about coding? Why learn about computer? You say, hell no, I ain't doing that because, but it doesn't align with my purpose. Why should I care about learning that? So learning is a value. It isn't a purpose. And so I think having that kind of perspective, you put in that into perspective, it makes more sense from the confusion of, hey, purpose and value. I don't understand. But if you look at it, purpose is something that you
Like a North
compel.
Star. Right. It's like a North Star guiding,
Exactly.
like compass where you're like, I'm going this way. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going this way. And like values are what you do every single day on that journey, right?
Oh, that's it. I mean, I think having that understanding helps us putting the compass, like, where is my North Star and what do I do? What are the steps? The steps, I need to go toward that North Star. Because if I can say, hey, I have these steps, I can take steps in any directions, but which direction I should go. And so that's important because some people say, hey, I want to pick up, learning as my value. I want to pick up, rise, grind, and repeat, or grit, or whatever as my value because it sounds great, right? But if it doesn't align with your value, regardless of what it is, you're not gonna have a fun time doing it. But you look at me, like most people, you think about it, you're a coder. All you do all day is you look at a computer screen. You don't talk to anybody. You look at a computer screen and you're looking at symbols. But think about how absurd that is. But I do that, and I'm compelled to do it. And so you think about it, looking at that perspective from an outsider view, it's weird. It's like, can this guy be like that? It's not. Human need to be socialized and do this and that, right? But you think about it, I rather have a dark cave, and usually when I'm programmed, I just have my computer on and very little light around me. Basically, I'm just looking at my computer screen, and the computer screen is what gives me the lights, right? But that's what I do all day, every day for what, 30 some years, right? So you look at that, it's like, that's not possible. Who can sustain that? You look at it, hey, he's like Nelson Mandela in prison. But for me, this is the life. The life is great. And so you look at Mandela and say, hey, he's in prison, but he gets to do exactly what it is that aligns to his purpose. For him, his life is great. Even though when you look at it and say, hey, this guy has been confined in this prison for 27 years. That's awful. But if he were doing exactly what he wants to do, his core values every single day, his life isn't that awful that I come to believe.
I mean, the way that he wrote about it doesn't sound like it was that bad, honestly. I mean, this is his own writing, right? And this is his own story. I mean, he doesn't look back on it and go, that sucked. He was like, I got to hang out with my friends every day. I got to, stay active. I got to garden. I got to develop a new love of tennis. I got to, read and write and exercise every day. I mean, like he was still being himself. Yeah. Snow, I'd love to get your thoughts.
It's funny, like, yeah, you described the experience of him and Jelly. It sounds like at a retirement center or something.
It wasn't all sunshine and lollipops, but neither is life, right? I mean, there's shit everybody takes lumps along the way, But yeah, no, I mean,
How are you using your values to sustain you each day while you prepare for a purpose? I like to write down what my values are, and I kind of have them on a sheet of paper. There's always that inner critic and inner supporter of ourselves, and I think that having your values and staying aligned to them can help you stay aligned with that inner supporter of you and deter you from being too much of an inner critic. Values are positive things about what we aspire to be. Maybe it's one of those things that the end goal is not as fulfilling as we actually think it's going to be, like we talked about earlier, the illusion of happiness in the future. But that's why I always have to enjoy the journey. That's why you have to enjoy the journey of just being in contentment. I do think there's a thing about having structure to our days and having patterns that help define who we are, because we do need some grounded footedness about like who we are and how we define ourselves. And so I just think it's wise always to have like, you don't have to have like in that one deep workbook that I recommended you, it's like the guy's like, you should have every minute of your day planned. Like,
Yeah, I wasn't a
it's
big fan of
but
that.
it's like sort of like the idea that like, I mean, there's obviously flexibility there, but like you should know what you're going to be doing and not just, go with the whims or whatever, or unless like you block off time, I'm going to go with the whims or whatever. I think, how do I use my values? I use them to make sure the goals and the purpose, my goals are actually what I want and redefine them. And I use them to try to model for other people. I use them to try to be the best version of myself. Because I think a better version we are of ourselves, then that can ebb out to other people. If you're a pretty shitty person, then other people can maybe kind of absorb that as well. But if you're a really good person, people can absorb that. And so I think I use my values just to try to be the best version of myself. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. For me, it's like I think of it as like values are what I leverage to figure out what step I want to take each day. Like it's easy for me. Like that makes it easy for me to go, okay, this is aligned with who I say I want to be, and I can take that next step, right? Purpose is like just that I don't know, it's the far off destination that you're going toward, and you try to do that every day, but you don't know that you're living every day. You don't get an opportunity to live a purpose driven life, like I mean, like you could be on that path to purpose and you could be doing your best to be in that destination, have that top of mind, like Nelson Mandela's purpose is to fight for equality for everybody. I feel like my personal purpose is, to live for my daughter, number one, and then number two, it's trying to live a balanced existence and help other people to do the same. That's what Club Annie's mission is, really, and that's what True and I try to do every single day. Now, I don't get an opportunity to help people every single day to do that kind of stuff. I want to, I wish I could, but sometimes those things don't present themselves as that kind of opportunity. Like Nelson Mandela, over the course of an entire lifetime, he never got more than a handful of opportunities probably to really make big, impactful moments of helping to fight for equality. But he tried to do it every single day as much as he could along the way. But every day when he woke up, he still knew where he was trying to go toward. And then he knew how to go take that next step each single day, right? I think that's where I always anchor down on values. Maybe it's this conversation. Maybe somebody sees this or whatever. Maybe one of my teammates that I manage comes to me and they're having an issue and I get to have a really good conversation and can draw from my experience to help guide them. I don't know how it's going to present itself every single day, right? But I know how I can fucking show up every single day. And I know that I can still try to do the best to be the person that I want to be and to be walking down that path, right? I think of like a lot of people, I feel like personally get so confused by this whole like purpose versus values conversation, like Drew was saying, where, I get on like a Peloton thing that we have in our basement. My wife loves to do the Peloton stuff and I hate it, honestly. Like, I don't know why. I just really hate being in a stationary bike in my basement. Like, somebody screaming at me on a TV in front of me, right? But there's this lady, I occasionally do it every once in a while because I'm like, well, I guess I'll try it out because it's in my basement or whatever. There's this one lady on there that always yells out at people constantly, just like barking in their face. It's like, what's your purpose? What's your why? Why are you here? And I'm like, I swear to you. And I'm like, I just want to fucking work out, lady. Like, I'm just trying to get some sweat in. Like, I don't.
I like that. I like that. Oh yeah, what's my purpose?
I was just like screaming at me the entire time. And I'm like, man, everything in my life doesn't have to be like the most serious thing that's ever happened. Maybe I just wanted to get a fucking workout in, and that's okay. Like, that's something I like to do. Like, I didn't need, and so many people out there wake up every day going, I need a purpose. I don't have a purpose. You hear purpose driven. And I feel like just like everything in life, we get inundated with that message. So we're like, well, I don't have a purpose yet. So clearly I'm flawed or something along those lines. Like, that's not what anybody should be thinking at all, right? Like, but values, in my personal opinion, are a way that you can always take a step somewhere in some direction that that you like that step somewhere. Purpose will reveal itself in time, and in my opinion, and then in that overarching, that'll help you to guide your steps, down a certain direction. But like each day you take a step, you do the stuff because you do it because you want to do it and because you like to do it. And then Snow, to your point of like, then it looks like you're the kind of role model that people want to be around. But you don't want to be around people that are just haphazardly walking all over the place and have no idea why they're even taking each step each day. You're like, I don't want to be around that person. I don't care if they're purpose driven or not. Like, I know when people are value driven,
Yeah, I like your point just about how Because like Nelson Mandela, even though like while he was in jail, his purpose was still to fight for equality, even though he couldn't do that every day. So I could see what you mean, like how you don't want people to get bogged down about like, oh, they aren't necessarily being like having these almost like productive metrics, but yet like just living by your values or whatever is like, it's like almost kind of like going to the gym to, I don't know, strengthen yourself and stay aligned towards your purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people might get to live out their purpose every day. My brother, who just never leaves the farm, he just wants, like, his purpose is just to farm. For him, every day is a little bit purpose driven. But I totally agree with you that just because you can't practice it doesn't mean you have to be AWOL one day and you don't know what to do with yourself.
Exactly. No, I think that's exactly what what this made me see and think. And this is how, like, accidentally, like, my life has become, because I've, just want to find time to spend time with my daughter. But at the same time, like, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me as I continue to go down this journey of what this means every single day. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity to really help other people to live a balanced existence or not. Like, I don't know.
You're helping them getting my social time in.
There you go.
You're living your purpose. Everybody has a purpose, whether they realize it or not. That's something they have to determine and figure out for themselves. But everybody is born, they are drawn to something, right? You're drawn to play tennis, you're drawn to farm, you're drawn to put codes together to make computer, do certain things, whatever. We're drawn to it. We are naturally gifted at that particular task. And we feel good when we do. So I think, I think with all of the, I guess, society, with all of the high level advices that people give you, you should do this, you should do that, you should, have grit, you should have leadership, you have this, blah, blah, blah. It drowns the signals of this calling that you have when you're born. And I think people need to understand a bit more about what purpose is. And we have talked about what purpose is before. So purpose, in our previous episode, purpose is not a destination, right? Remember, Chris? Purpose is not a destination. To me, I feel purpose is like a direction.
Yes.
Right? Because it's like a North Star is a direction. You don't actually, it's not something tangible. It's not something you have to, you're doing. It's like, hey, this is the direction. So it's not something you can say, hey, I can grab onto. It's not something tangible. So for me, it's a little bit harder to grasp the concept of what purpose is. But value is something that you do that actually it is aligned with the direction. So having the understanding of the distinction helps you clarify what you do and understand that, hey, I do this today, right? It isn't aligned with my purpose, but it still makes me feel, pretty good inside. And because it feels pretty good inside, that means that it aligns with whatever that is that I need to be heading towards. Just like your North Star, for example. Because I'm, like I told you before, the example of,
Oh my gosh.
No, I have a reason why I just pulled this up, because, like, like you're saying, these salmon's purpose is, I got to get upstream to spawn, right? That is their purpose. They don't know where
the purpose for the salmon is to pass on to next generation.
Right. So, but they fight every single day. They keep swimming every day. Like, they love swimming too. I mean, there's a reason why they're trying their damn best, like
they're compelled to do it. That's right. The point. They're compelled. It's not like, hey, it sounds fun or whatever. They're compelled to do it. And for them, that's the only thing that's on their mind.
Exactly.
Oh, one got up. Wow.
Nice.
Where
are the bears? Where are the bears right now? They're just missing a feast.
They eat so much.
Wild, right? Like,
so what happened? Do they just like kill themselves by trying so hard?
Yeah. Well, they get through. Like, and they
exhausted. So some get through, some get eaten, some get exhausted, and just die. But that's the cycle of life.
I guess that's why the only like the strongest and biggest and fattiest ones survive, with good flippers or something. They can jump up like the bears.
The bears.
Is that a cup? That's a cup.
The bears are living their purpose, right? Like, their job is to gain 15, 20 pounds a day and keep eating. To your question, though, these salmon go out to sea, they get fat, they stop eating as soon as they hit the cold water and they swim upstream because they're in a fasted state. They're going to burn all their fat off. They're like, I got all the things I need to be focused and ready to go, and I'm just going to swim as far as I can up there until I can safely spawn and give my children an opportunity to live, right? That's their purpose. But at the same time, like, that could be somebody's purpose, and that's fine. But the reason why I was going to show this is true to your point. It's like, they don't know where they're going necessarily, but they know what they got to do every single day, right? And
go upstream.
And then they get there, or they don't.
Right.
Right.
I think they don't know exactly where they need to spawn, but they need it's upstream somewhere. So I got to go upstream.
I mean, yeah, I feel like underneath it all, the species, like we talk about the salmon, like, there's to reproduce, but I feel like underneath even all our purposes is just like, either to help our species or to help our genes reproduce. You know, whether like Chris, you talk about your purpose to have people live like a balanced life, because having a balanced life or whatever is like to help people be healthy. And like if people are healthy, they'll be more successful and be able to reproduce if they want, if they choose to, or maybe their reproduction scheme is just to help other people. Maybe underneath it all, some purpose is to like either help our genes go on.
We are slaves to our
1000%.
genes. I mean, regardless of how you put it. I mean,
don't use that.
I mean, you
Well,
have no control of what the genes wants you to do. If the genes wants you to do something, you have to do it. Like otherwise, you're gonna get a headache, you're gonna get stomach aches, you can get whatever. Just because, hey, I don't want you to eat that. I need you to eat this. So it tells you what you need to do. If you don't do them, you don't have peace from mind because it's gonna tug on you, and that's just what misery is about.
I think you honestly just hit the nail on the head though, like in general. And you think of like religion and meditation and Zen and Buddhism and the Tao and whatever, all these different like philosophy, the book you're reading right now, Why Buddhism is True, right? Like all these things over the course of human history has all been a way for us to figure out like, hey, how can we live a more sustainable long life, right? Like and how can we control our heart rate? How can we keep our anxiety levels down? How can we accomplish more together? You know what I mean? All these different practices that build up around it. Clubbing is not much different than that in a lot of ways, and that's not much different than what we're trying to do. When I say I want to help people to live a balanced existence, it's exactly what you're saying. You could live a frantic, crazy ass hustle culture kind of lifestyle, but it burns you the fuck out, and it's not sustainable forever. Nothing's sustainable forever, but at the same time, I don't want to.
On Earth, though, you want like to be at ease.
And that's the thing is, I think that the reason why Buddhism is appealing to people is because they saw these monks that probably lived longer, and they probably saw these people that felt like they were more calm and relaxed, and they could figure out their life a little bit better. And you're like, what are they doing? And then people go and would ask them, and they would learn, and then they developed these monasteries, and then that's how the Catholic Church probably formed. That's how all this shit kind of formed, right? You know what I mean? Like where people are like, oh, I want to know what they're doing. These salmon got the fuck upstream and they spawn. And I'm sure when they come back down, if they ever, did they ever go back down, or once they spawn, they just die? Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
What do you do? Basically, they have to go back to the ocean.
But do the same ones that spawn? Do they go back to the ocean and they do it multiple
no,
times?
I think they don't go back. They die.
Okay. So they're gonna die either way. So no, they're either gonna die in a bear's mouth, stuck in the falls.
So they're trying to go to where they were birthed, right? Yes. Where they were.
It's safer for the little fry to grow bigger and survive, because they can't survive where the adult salmons live. They have to go to that place where the mangroves and whatever there is basically protected the fry and allow them to grow bigger. Once they get bigger, they can survive, have more chance of survival, and then they go back to the other place where they are adults. But the adult fish, when they spawn, they don't go back because their life ends there.
Dude, what a life for this bear! He's just sitting there watching his food jump right in his mouth. He's just like this. This is what
self-control than I do. Jeez, there we go.
Awesome. I mean, I don't know if you can't get addicted watching this. Like, yeah, I think you're not a human. Like, I
don't know about that.
This is just awesome, man. But anyway, I think that's. Anybody have any final thoughts for the day? I think we've touched on some really good points from each of you. But any final thoughts, Drew or so, for the day?
No, not really. I mean, you have to be who you gotta be. It's not a choice. And so if you listens to your body, listen to the omens, you'll be okay. And so don't worry about all the the saying people say to you, hey, you have to have grit, you have to have this, you have to have that, right? Okay, I like the way my life is. I mean, I don't want to be, hey, oh, I gotta be a billionaire, or I gotta be like Elon, or I be like Steve Jobs, or whatever. People keep saying to me that, and I say, well, it doesn't appeal to me. That life appeals to someone else, but not to me. So don't listen to other people, right? Because people say, hey, like Chris, hey, Chris, you're very good at reasoning. You should be a lawyer, right? You think about it. If you don't listen to your body, you say, well, people say, I'm good at this, I'm gonna be a lawyer. You're gonna hate your fucking life, because that's not what you're meant for.
But yeah. I mean, me specifically, no, I would. It's like torture making me sit down and read a contract and redline shit and whatever. But yeah,
but other people loves it though. But that's my point. But other people loves to do that. And you look at CPA, you look at like tax preparer, you look at accountant, you're looking at like, people who are like very, very meticulous. They're good at what they do and they loves it.
Yeah, it's what they're built for. I totally agree. Well, awesome. It's great to join midday. This is a fun little midday sync up. I know we're on a little bit of a weird schedule this week because Drew's out on vacation. Thanks for joining, and that's always fun to having you. And hey, when we hang up here, or not hang up here, when we stop the recording, I want to talk about deep work really fast. If you got an extra second. Thanks for everyone for joining, and we will see you all next time.
All right, see ya.